Gridlock.
Gridlock.
Are we rooting for gridlock in 2027?
Oh, that's a great question. In Washington or just broadly speaking?
Broadly speaking, but in Washington, the David Gura comes.
I think we're facing a lot of gridlock here as we get closer and closer to the election. Look, there's talk here of a government shutdown in October of this year. We just had this vote on a war powers resolution in the House. We saw 4 Republicans come over to join their Democrats on the other side of the aisle. I think that people are aware of the fact that given the pressures that we're seeing overseas, now manifest in domestic pressures as well, it's unlikely that we're going to see a lot of movement in Washington.
Well, speaking of domestic pressures, tariffs are back, David. And despite President Trump's claim that other countries pay for it, the duties are all basically borne by American companies and, at the end of the day, American consumers.
Absolutely right. So we see the president using Section 301 of that Trade Act of 1974 to impose 10 to 12.5% tariffs on 60 countries, and more perhaps are on the way here. Look, it's an interesting moment at which this is happening. You're going to talk about inflation, I'm sure, over the course of the show. We know that these are going to be inflationary. It is a choice, to say the least, that the administration is doing this as they look at this war in the Middle East, widening and lasting longer than they thought it would be. I think it's still incumbent upon them to try to make the sale, to explain to the American people why this is the route that they're going down.
Yeah.
These latest tariffs on human rights grounds, at least in name, and we'll see sort of if the American people
I think, Scarlet, people are numbed. We're benumbed into the summer.
They're accustomed to a lot of things flying around, absolutely. But it is a picture of economic anxiety. And you see it in the price action. And, Nikki, it's fascinating to see how people respond, especially young people, which is a real picture of extremes, right? You've got financial nihilism on the one end, and then you've got what some people are calling retirement maxing on the other end.
Yes, we took a look this week at this cohort of Gen Z who are not the ones on prediction markets, who are not the ones taking these YOLO bets in the stock market, but instead they are, and we use this with our tongue in cheek a little bit, retirement maxing. And they're putting away money into savings rather than spending in the moment, sometimes even ignoring their credit card bills. Most of them not yet, because we're talking about people under 30. Yeah, that'll take care of your excess income real quick. But yeah, people putting into IRAs and their 401ks as much as they can because they don't know what's coming ahead.
Right, and this idea that they're not even spending on themselves because they're just saving in every way. Stacey, you've written about and you've talked about on your podcast this idea that Americans are spending less time on enjoying themselves, on spending for themselves, recreational products. There's something called funflation taking place.
Yes, there's a little bit of funflation taking place because things have gotten so expensive. Obviously, since the pandemic, we've spent a lot more money on experiences rather than just goods. We've tended to spend on services. Demand for services is up. Prices for services are up. Even going to see the Odyssey this weekend could cost a lot of money. The tickets for IMAX are on sale in the secondary market for several $100s. But this, I mean, if you have kids, for instance, just going out for ice cream, just going out, to try to movie and pizza can easily go into the hundreds of dollars.
Gura took $200 in Brooklyn once going to the movies, right?
You could have a whole meal at the movies.
The whole meal and all that.
Like
Stacey, I got to ask you, I talked to Nashville today. I talked to Austin, Texas. You know Boise cold with Micron and the boom there. I mean, part of this nation has explosively boomed cities, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I grew up in Boise, and right now everyone's talking about the Micron Millionaires. So Micron is based in Boise.
Should we congratulate you?
I tragically am not a Micron millionaire. It's true, I did. I went into journalism. I don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, I mean, it's one of the biggest employers in the state. It's been making chips since 1972. A lot of ups and downs, but now, thanks to AI, I mean, it's going nuts.
I want to get this in. It's just too important. We do personal finance, we do retirement, we do wealth management, and Nikki Waller and Suzanne Woolley have, without question, the essay of the day. It comes from Marlon over at Fidelity. I was shocked at the chart, the jump condition in healthcare costs for retirees.
Yeah, it is absolutely. It's been rising for years, and what we're seeing is that if you are retiring this year, your health costs that you will pay out of pocket, if you're a couple, it's up to $371,000. That is an almost 8% jump from last year.
Isn't it supposed to be almost like free, like $15,000?
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen anymore. And if you're a Gen Xer like David Gura and myself, you're also thinking about paying for your parents' care and saving for your kids' college tuition at the same time. So this just adds to it. We'll be working forever.
Incredibly daunting. Yes, I agree.
Okay, David Gura, thank you so much. Thank you for coming in
happy
today.
to be
Nice
here.
to
Thank
have
you, Tom.
But next time, bring something from Reds up in Maine with you. Stacey, Vanek Smith, Nikki Waller, thank you so much as well. You know, I look at this, and I know the theme of the show should be called Bloomberg Inflation. It should be the title
we could
of
do
the
a
show.
rebrand.
But this has been a really stressful week. I mean, I'm sorry, Wednesday it was like vibrating.
I know, but
on
it's
the
calmed
screen.
down a little bit here on this Friday. And, next week we've got a lot to look ahead to, especially this hyperscaler earnings, because it looks like AI is driving this entire economy right now.
And everybody involved with Bloomberg Money, retirement, wealth management, they all own it, don't they?